Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 1. Today we are beginning the 3rd Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This chapter is entitled as Questions by Vidura. The first verse doesn't have any purport, therefore I'll just read this one through and then go to the next verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Atat Pura Prishto Evam Etat Pura Prishto Maitreo Bhagavan Kila Kshatra Vanam Pravishtena Tvakta Swa Griham Vidhitam. Swa Griham Vidhimat. Evam etat pura prishto Maitreo Bhagavan Kila Kshatra Vanam Pravishtena Tvakta Swa Griham Vidhimat. Shukadeva Goswami said, after renouncing his prosperous home and entering the forest, King Vidura, the great devotee, asked this question to His Grace Maitreya Rishi. The text 2 is what has been written on the board. Jad Va Ayam Mantra Creed Om Bhagavan Akhileshwaraha Pauravendra Griham Hitva Praviveshatmasat Griham. Jadva ayam mantra kridvo Bhagavan Akhileshwara Pauravendra Griham Hitva Praviveshatmasat Griham. Jadva ayam mantra kridvo Bhagavan Akhileshwara Pauravendra Griham Hitva Praviveshatmasat Griham. Jadva ayam mantra kridvo Bhagavan Akhileshwara Pauravendra Griham Hitva Praviveshatmasat Griham. The house. Why? What else is there to say? I am Shri Krishna. Mantra Krit. Minister. Vaha. You people. Bhagavan. The personality of God. Akhila Ishvara. The Lord of everything. Pauravendra. Durjadhan. Griham. House. Hitva. Giving up. Pravivesha. Enter. Atmasat. Identify with oneself. Kritam. So accepted. Translation by His Divine Grace. What else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Shri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as a minister. He used to enter that house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. 4. Okay, please repeat after me. What else is there to say
What else is there to say
about the residential house of the Pandavas?
about the residential house of the Pandavas?
Shri Krishna,
The
Lord of everything,
Lord of everything,
acted as a minister.
acted as a minister.
He used to enter that house
He used to enter the house
as if it were his own,
as if it was his own,
and he did not take any care
and he did not take any care
of Duryodhana's house.
of Duryodhana's house.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Gauriya Achinta Bhedabhe Tattva philosophy, anything which satisfies the senses of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is also Sri Krishna. For example, Sri Vrindavan Dham is not different from Sri Krishna, Tad Dhamo Vrindavanam. Because at Vrindavan, the Lord enjoys the transcendental bliss of his internal potency. Similarly, the house of the Pandavas was also the source of transcendental bliss for the Lord. It is mentioned here that the Lord identified the house with his own self. Thus, the house of the Pandavas was as good as Vrindavan, and Vidura should not have given up that place of transcendental bliss. Therefore, the reason for his quitting the house was not exactly family misunderstanding. Rather, Vidura took the opportunity to meet Rishi Maitreya and discuss transcendental knowledge. For a saintly person like Vidura, any disturbance due to worldly affairs is insignificant. Such disturbances, however, are sometimes favorable for higher realization, and therefore Vidura took advantage of a family misunderstanding in this manner. Therefore, Vidura took advantage of a family misunderstanding in order to meet Maitreya's wish. Shri Shuka Uvacha, I'm reading the first and second verses together. Shri Shuka Uvacha, Evam Etad Pura Prishto, Maitreya Bhagavan Hila, Kshatravanam Pravishtina, Vakta Savrinam Vidhimat. Jadva Ayam Mantra Pribho, Bhagavan Akhileshwara, Pogavendra Griham Hitva, Pradiveshatma Satsvikam. Sukadeva Goswami said, after renouncing his prosperous home and entering the forest, King Vidura, the great devotee, asked this question of his grace, Maitreya Rishi. What else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Sri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as a minister. He used to enter that house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. So Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj. What was Parikshit Maharaj's last question to Sukadeva Goswami?
What is the duty of someone about today?
And that was and what was the last question of the sages of Vaishnavism? Okay.
Why Vidura will go and he started listening to Vidura and what to do?
He was the last chapter. This is about material creation and everything. So Saudaka Rishi, on behalf of the Savior, told him, Saudaka Rishi asking him the sages, their mood was, all this creation and all these are all related to the material nature. That doesn't give us so much pleasure. So now please tell us what happened to Vidura. What question Vidura asked? and then Shukadeva Swami, and then he started to relate to Shukadeva Swami's narration. So, Vidura left home and went to the forest. And that home was very prosperous. Renouncing his prosperous home, actually he was living in a palace. And that palace was naturally full of opulence, and also that palace had the residence of the Pandavas. So it was a very great opportunity to associate with exalted devotees like Pandavas. And Pandava's house was so exalted that Krishna used to reside there. Krishna used to consider that house was his own house. Atma Sat Pritam. And he is pointing out that your forefathers were so fortunate. Parikshit Maharaj's forefathers were so fortunate that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Akhileshwara, the Lord of everything, used to be their advisor, minister. Krishna used to guide them all the time. Whenever they had any difficulty, Krishna would just appear there and would instruct them what to do. And Krishna would save them from all kinds of distresses and difficulties. And then he also remembered that Pandavas were so fortunate that Krishna used to live the opulent atmosphere of the Kaurava king, Duryodhana, and used to go there. And here also it is pointed out that this is also this is applicable to Vidura. Because when Krishna went to make peace treaty with Duryodhana and his party, Duryodhana actually made elaborate arrangement to receive Krishna. But Krishna didn't stay at Duryodhana. Krishna decided to stay at Vidura's house. So Vidura's house was so elevated, so wonderful, that Krishna used to consider his house as his home. Like when we have some very deep, intimate relationship, we consider his house to be our own house. I'm sure you can remember, you had some very close friends. You used to consider a friend's house as your own house. Like you came there any time you wanted to have peace. So when we have a deep relationship with somebody, we consider his house to be our house. Similarly, devotees of Krishna who are very dear to Krishna, Krishna considers their house as his own house. Krishna left Duryodhana's elaborate arrangement. Duryodhana actually made a grand arrangement. Naturally, he was a king. So he, actually the Vedic Nyaya, politics, has 4 steps of treatment. Sham, Dan, Ved, Gandha. So Duryodhana, the politician, he tried that. He tried to please Krishna by giving a very nice trip. Duryodhana actually was very expert in politics. Materialistic people are very expert in politics. And Duryodhana is the ideal materialist. An example is when the battle of Kurukshetra was about to begin, and the Pandavas, and Krishna joined the Pandavas, and Krishna decided to be the chariot driver of Arjun's chariot. And at that time, Karna told Duryodhana that I can challenge Arjun, I can supersede Arjun if I had a chariot driver as expert as Krishna. His point was that now that Krishna has become Arjun's chariot driver, Arjun will become very, very powerful. Because a warrior those days, they used to ride on a chariot, they used to fight riding on a chariot. So the chariot driver was, the charioteer was very important. Like the charioteer could actually make situations that the warrior could fight and defend himself. So they were in anxiety. Karna is a very great warrior, but who is going to be the chariot driver for Karna? Because now Arjun has now got a chariot, and Krishna was considered to be an expert chariot driver. Actually, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is expert in everything. Whatever he does, naturally he will be the best. Who can be better than Krishna? But there was one person who was famous as a chariot driver, they considered that well, he could be as good as Krishna as a chariot driver. He could be compared to Krishna. Who was that?
Shalya.
That was Shalva. And who was Shalva?
The king of Madra.
King of Madra, king of Madras. And what was, who was there? And in this way, what was his relationship with the Pandavas? He was their uncle. Because Nakul and Sahadev's mother, Madhuri, was the princess of Madra and Shalva's sister. So naturally, Shalva was going to side with Pandavas. So there was no way he could take Shalva. But Duryodhana was so expert when Shalva was coming to side with the Pandavas in the battle of Kurukshetra. On the way, before he could reach the Pandavas, he made an arrangement to receive Shalva. And he gave him such a royal treatment that Shalva became obliged to him. And Shalva agreed to side with him. Although he was Pandava's uncle, he sided with him. Although he was coming to actually side with the Pandavas, Duryodhana, by his political maneuver, took him on his side. So this is how these politicians, they are very, very expert. So Duryodhana tried that also with Krishna. Krishna came to make a truce. Duryodhana tried to give a nice treatment, offer nice gifts. And then he tried to create, by political maneuver, create dissension between Krishna and Pandavas. And then finally, he wanted to, when all these did not work, they wanted to arrest Krishna. Sham, Dan, Ed. He wanted to arrest Krishna and keep him in the prison. But who can arrest Krishna? When all his soldiers were coming to arrest Krishna, Krishna showed his universal form. And And that is the unfortunate state of affairs with the atheists. That although Duryodhana and his party saw Krishna, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and although the Supreme Personality of Godhead was advising them not to get into the fun, they went against him. That's the thing with the atheists. Because they don't believe in God, even though they see him face to face, still they do not want to serve. They think that they are because they don't submit to him because they think that they are greater than God. They'll defeat God. They'll kill God. So although Duryodhana made elaborate arrangements to please Krishna by making him when he came to the palace, but what did Krishna do? Krishna went to Vidura's house. And Vidura, he used to live in a simple hut. But that hut was, although it was a hut, but it was such a wonderful place that Krishna himself considered that it was his place. So that place must have been so wonderful. Vidura's house. But Vidura left that and went to the forest. Why did he do that? Now Prabhupada is pointing out that apparently it was because of family misunderstanding, family dispute. Duryodhana insulted Vidura. In a very, very severe way, he insulted Vidura. Duryodhana never liked Vidura. Because bad people never like good people. Good people give good advice and bad people do not tolerate that. So, Krishna was giving them good advice, Vidura was giving them good advice, but they couldn't take it. Vidura tried to make them understand in so many ways. But Duryodhana, how did Duryodhana see Vidura? He saw that he was partial to the Pandavas. Sometimes we find these materialistic people, their attitude is, why don't you like me? Why don't you love me? Why do you worry so much that I'm bad? Still you should love me. Even though my activities and my nature is abominable, still you must love me. And if you don't love me, then you are not my friend. If you don't love me, then you are my enemy. You are a bad person. I'm not bad. You are bad. Because you don't love me. So, in Mahabharata, actually, this Krishna, by playing his pastimes, created a situation where we can see that the Pandavas are the personification of virtue, whereas Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana, were the personification of evil. As bad as one can be, that was Kaurava. And as good as one can be, that was Pandava. And it's not some fairy tale, it's not a story, it's not a drama. It is real. Krishna made this idea. Actually, it is a drama caused by Krishna. That's why it is pastimes. Pastimes means drama that is arranged by Krishna. Krishna's drama, pastimes. And it is such a wonderful drama. Anybody who knows about drama will agree that they have made a single drama as exciting as one, as perfect as one. Drama must have conflict. Good drama must have conflict. And look at the conflict in Mahabharata. The good drama must have a conflict between good and evil. And you see, the Pandavas and Kauravas. The Pandavas are the best of the people. Kauravas are the worst of the people. And still Kauravas have their following. They have their following. Many people are with them. But when we look at their nature, we see what they are like. They all are bad. So there is an expression in English, water finds its own level. Water finds its own level. So here you can see those were bad, they found Duryodhana's level, and those who were good, they found the Pandavas. And Duryodhana was so envious. He tried to harm them in so many ways. And apparently Pandavas were suffering. They were given poison when they were children. They tried to kill, Duryodhana tried to kill them. Duryodhana tried to burn them in a house of Shalak. A beautiful house was built, but with Shalak. What is Shalak? Black. Okay, anyway, you got it. What happens? Just give a little fire, the whole thing will burn into ash. And the Pandavas were meant to be It was if the conspiracy was to burn the Pandavas along with Kunti in the house. Then they were sent into exile for 12 years, and 1 year incognito, that no one would be able to recognize them. If anybody recognized them, then this term would repeat another 12 years of forest exile and 1 year incognito. But after 13 years of exile and incognito, they came back and demanded the kingdom. Duryodhana still did not give their rightful kingdom back. So accordingly, the Pandavas were suffering so much. And that's why sometimes people think that if you become a devotee of Krishna, you will suffer. If you become a devotee of Krishna, then you will get all kinds of misfortune. But do the devotees feel that? Does anybody feel that? Are you, after you became a devotee of Krishna, are you suffering? No. We are enjoying our life. But those people, they think that they are suffering. Because they don't understand what's the real enjoyment. The real enjoyment is not in living in a luxurious and comfortable situation. The real joy comes from the heart, being in a state where you are completely satisfied. So when one has this relationship with Krishna, and when one is always protected by Krishna, maintained by Krishna, then naturally he doesn't have any anxiety. Like this is the difference. Materialistic people, they make nice arrangements, big comfortable houses. But then every month they have to pay the mortgage. Like in the West, it's happening in India also. You can buy a house very easily. Instead of paying the rent, you can buy a house. The only thing is that you have to keep paying for 30 years or for 20 years. Huh? Okay. So for 30 years, you're sold out to the bank. And you know what happens? If after 25 years, if you can't pay, the bank will take the house away. The banks are not doing any charity. And banks are not your friend. They may come to you and speak to you like a friend. They're your best friend. But actually, they are simply trying to make their money out of you. Just consider the condition, actually, why the banks give money to buy houses. First of all, bank has money. And the money grows. If the money is sitting in the bank, then will the money grow? Will the money reproduce money? No. The money, if it is given out, then from interest, the bank makes the profit. The bank gives you money and charges you interest. Say 12%, sometimes even 20%, sometimes 25%. And okay, so bank gives you, say, 1,000 rupees, right? But you agree that every year you have to pay the bank 1,250 rupees when you give it back after. For every year you have to pay 250 rupees extra. Your bank gave you 1,000 rupees, but you have to pay 25%. That means in 4 years you have to pay the same amount of money that you have borrowed from. So that's why bank wants to lend money. But the bank needs security. Bank gives you 1,000 rupees, but bank wants to make it a point that if you can't pay, then bank can realize that 1,000 rupees for the bank is paid. Where is Sony? Sony didn't come today? Oh, there you are. There's the bank. You know that. Isn't it?
Yes.
So when bank gives you 1,000 rupees, bank wants to make sure that there is a guarantee for at least for 1,000 rupees. Right? Now, house, when you buy, the house itself is a guarantee. And then to buy the house, to get a bank loan, you have to pay 20% at least. So the house costs, say, 1 lakh rupees. And the value of the house is 1 lakh rupees. And you are giving the bank 20,000 rupees. So now the bank gives you 80,000 rupees. The bank gives you 80,000 rupees, but the value of the house is 1 lakh, 100,000 rupees. And then you have to pay the remaining 80,000 over a long period of time, 20 years. Longer it is better for the bank, because that means more interest. They want to give extended loans. Now consider, you are paying every month. You already paid 20,000 to get the house. Bank gave you 80,000. And every month you are paying 1,000 rupees. You are going to pay that in, say, 6 years. Every month you are paying 1,000 rupees. No, every month you are paying 2,000 rupees because it's interest. So you are paying 2,000 rupees. Now you are supposed to pay the money back in 6 years. So 6 years, how much did you pay? You already paid 20,000, and every month you are paying 2,000. So every year you are paying 24,000, and you will pay back in 6 years. So how much you will pay? 24 by 6 is 1,44,000. So how much bank is getting back? Bank gave you 80,000, but they are getting 1,44,000 plus 20,000. 1,64,000 in 6 years. Right? And so bank is such a good friend of yours. And then, say you have paid for 5 years. That means you have already paid for 20,000 plus in 5 years, 96,000. Right? So 96,000. No, I'm sorry. 1,20,000. You have paid already 1,20,000, and plus you paid 20,000. So you paid 1,40,000. So you actually have paid more than 50% more than the house cost. But after 5 years, if you cannot pay, what will bank do? They will come and take the house away. So, although you paid 1,44,000, 1,40,000, just because you couldn't pay for the last year, bank comes and takes the house away. So this is how people are trying to enjoy the material. The bank, they are thinking, oh, I got a beautiful house. All my life I've been dreaming of a house, but I couldn't actually get the money to buy a house. So now my friend, the bank, has come. So they are going to fulfill my dream. But what is happening? You get enslaved. Another thing that happens quite often in the West, we've noticed, they build beautiful houses. Beautiful houses. One thing is, they build a beautiful house, they have nice cars, they have so many nice arrangements. But to pay the bills, they have to work from 10 to 5. And then to go to the office, they have to leave 1 hour earlier. And then it takes another hour to come back. So they are actually working for 10 hours a day just to make the money. Sometimes they even work harder. Like sometimes people leave home at 6 o'clock in the morning. Do you think the devotees get up early? You go to New York City and you'll see like people, when they get up, they also get up at 3:30. But they don't go to the car. They have to drive for 2 hours to go to the to go to their office. And then they come, when they come back, while going it takes 2 hours, while coming back it takes 4 hours. Why? Because it's such a traffic jam. And in this way they are working. So they leave house at 5 o'clock in the morning, they come back at home at 9 o'clock at night. So they have a beautiful house, but why do they come to the house? Not to live in that house, but to sleep in that house. Just 4 or 5 hours they sleep, then they get up in the morning and they again have to go and start making arrangements, pay their bill to live in a big house. Now they think that that's such a wonderful life. And then they come and see the devotees living in a brahmachari ashram, sleeping on the floor, thin little mattress. Sometimes they don't even have a mattress. I remember when I was a brahmachari, often all I used to have is just a straw mat. Straw mat. I used to roll it up and I used to have a pillow. And I used to just spread it and sleep. Didn't have any problem sleeping. And so they think that the devotees are suffering. But are the devotees really suffering? What do the brahmacharis think? Are you suffering?
No.
Sitanath is shaking his head. Saying, vehemently saying, no. Why aren't you suffering? Do you have a house? Do you have a bank balance? Do you have a girlfriend? Then why are you so happy? Why they cannot understand why the devotees are so happy. Materially they have nothing, but why are they so happy? Because they have Krishna. So that is the thing about the devotee. Like Malini is smiling. Malini has a nice house. Malini has, how many houses do you have? She has one big house in Calcutta. She has another big house in Mayapur. But do you have one in Ujjain? No. But she doesn't want to stay in either Mayapur or in Calcutta. And she just wants to stay here. She just wants to stay in Ujjain. And she has a small little room. She's happy. So happy that she doesn't want to live in a big house with her husband and only son, who is a wonderful devotee. The son also doesn't want to live at home. I have to push him. Force him, go to Calcutta. Because I had some work to do. So I just sent him to Calcutta. So these things people don't understand. At least the non-devotees. Because the real joy doesn't come from comfortable situation, comfortable material situation. The real joy comes from within. When the heart is happy, when the heart is joyful, it doesn't matter where we are. We notice that sometimes don't we go out on a picnic or outing? I remember I used to look forward to those outing retreats. And what we used to do? We used to go to the forest. Friends. We used to go out from school in the forest, pitch tents on the bank of a river and spend time there. And it was fun. I used to feel so bad to go back home. I'm sure you all had some experience going on camping with friends. In America we call it pioneer camps. So this is so wonderful to have this kind of. While we are in the middle of a forest, there is no facility. Living in a tent, cooking your food, washing your own clothes, which you'll never do at home. But it is so joyful. Why? Because you're with your friends. The atmosphere is so enjoyable. That reminds me, Dharmaraj actually takes his team, young boys, he takes them into the rough Spanish mountains, right? And in the forest sometimes. He loves to take these boys, and the boys also love that. They look forward to it. Did you take them last year?
Yes.
Well, how many boys?
50, no?
50 boys?
50, 50.
50. And where do you go?
Go to the bottom of the river, a big river in Spain. Up in the mountain, no light, and this is.
Yeah.
And in the cooking.
No electricity?
Nothing.
How do you cook your food?
When they want to cooking in the fire, like.
Just collect some wood from the forest
Yes.
and cook the food. And the food is probably some baked potatoes and.
In the night, speaking to Srila Prabhupada, on the devotee coming, speak to Srila Prabhupada history.
Oh.
And the devotee very happy. Big kill in the forest in the night. In the day, you go to the mountain.
And how do the boys feel when they come back home?
Oh, rain.
They're crying. They don't want to come back. Why? Because they were enjoying. Although materially they had nothing. If somebody asks you, are you ready to go to the forest? How many will want? How many of you want to do that? You want to go to forest? What's stopping you? So, generally, you don't want to go to a forest. You don't want to go to an uncomfortable situation. But when you are with friends, then you love to do things like that. So, that's the point that is being yesterday. Like, for a devotee, wherever Krishna is, that is the place of joy. That is the real place of happiness. And Krishna also feels the place where the devotees are, that is where he wants to be. And he considers that place to be his own place. Atmasat Kritam. He makes it his own. Devotee's house becomes Krishna's house. Devotee's association is what Krishna always wants. And similarly, devotees also simply want Krishna. They want to please Krishna, they want to serve Krishna. Arunachal, in agreement?